curious to see, like, if you still got photos from, like, last year when we was out here
Yeah.
compared to now.
Yeah.
It's crazy, the difference.
Hey there, it's Jordan. I am here in Louisville, Kentucky, where we've been for 2 days now. We're in Injustice Square, which was named that after the murder of Breonna Taylor, but it is eerily different this second time we're here. We were here last summer. So different, which we're going to talk about. We decided to come back here to Louisville, cover a lot of things, including evictions that have been going on despite the moratorium, homelessness, corruption, because there's a lot of that here. But we also wanted to continue to keep Breonna Taylor's name in the news because, I don't know, call me a naive journalist. I kind of think it's still a scandal that a black woman was murdered while in bed, that evidence came out that there was a cover-up after the fact, and nothing's been done in terms of justice. So I ask you all, please press that like button right under the video, share this live stream, get this out to as many people as you can. I know there's a lot of different shows on, and it's the New York City mayor's race tonight, but let's remember that Breonna Taylor, there was no video like George Floyd, but we still know this was basically an assassination, so we need to keep it in the news, and there are developments, which I'm going to talk to Breonna's aunt about. I'm with Bianca Austin. We spoke last summer, I think, and you and Breonna were very, very close. So I want to first, before we get to the developments and the continued pursuit of justice, just a basic, how have you been? How has your family been? I know it's kind of like just trying to keep going on, but how has the family been?
We've been okay. It's exhausting, but, we take it one day at a time, take it for what it's worth, and just try to stay focused and just kind of be there for each other and figure this out. Yeah.
And I want to get to, like, physically where we are. So when we came, it was popping. Injustice Square, there was protesters. We got here, 7 cop cars rolled up for an umbrella they wanted to take down, which, they were basically trying to screw with the protesters. But this is where people came, community, organizing, all that. And now, empty.
It's empty.
And I want to read this sign here. The Louisville police don't want you to see the face of the woman they murdered. Breonna's memorial was created by the community to honor a life taken too soon. For over a year, the Louisville Police Department has brutalized and arrested those that come to demand justice, to heal, to mourn, and to be in community. Each morning, the entire memorial is set up by volunteers and must be removed every night by order of the city government, or everything in Injustice Square is taken to the city dump. Until there is justice for Breonna and significant reform, help us make this sacred, historic space permanent by reaching out to Metro Council representatives, the mayor's office, and city departments. Demand justice, make them hear the people. So basically, they've run protesters out of here and started making you set up and break down every night. And you were telling me that they did take stuff to the city dump. Can you kind of talk about what police have done to drive people out of here?
Every day they came out and, they harassed us. They gave us like a curfew. And it just got to the point where it was just overwhelming, exhausting, and it was just continual arrest. And, I don't want people to just continue to get charges brought up on them just for being out here, So we had the memorial up. I believe it happened twice, but the last time they came at like 4 o'clock in the morning, took everything. They had dump trucks, garbage cans, you name it, tore it all down, took it to the city's dump. And then it was just like an outcry, like, what's going on here? Like, this is not bothering anybody. Like, we don't understand, like, how this, I understand it because they don't want to see the blood that they have on their hands and be reminded every day that they come to work. I get that. But at the same time, it's like, a life was taken. This is where community, this is where we come to pay our respects and, just be a community out here and just try to pursue justice for Breonna. So it's really heartbreaking, we hurt.
And I want to get to that justice. And remember, press the like button, share this live stream. So I just follow facts. And if it smells like a cover-up, if it quacks like a cover-up, it's a cover-up. So just to remind the audience, if you don't know, essentially the state attorney general, Daniel Cameron, who's very connected to Mitch McConnell, by the way, there was a grand jury. A grand jury is supposed to technically be independent from the attorney general. The grand jury, Daniel Cameron in September came out last year with basically a bunch of lies that the grand jury agreed with his determination that there was no criminal charges. There was nothing applicable in Kentucky law to charge Officer Mattingly, Officer Cosgrove, who shot at your niece, Breonna, and killed her. But then the grand jury came out after the fact, basically saying, first of all, the attorney general did not present all the evidence, so basically they hid evidence from us. Secondly, the attorney general did not give us the option of charging criminally. So basically it was the attorney general's decision, pretending that the grand jurors had a choice. 3 grand jurors in January have filed for Attorney General Cameron to be impeached over this. He also lied. He said that in addition to the police saying that they announced a no-knock, they announced themselves before barging in there. They said they had, a neighbor that confirmed this, even though that neighbor, first of all, there's 12 other eyewitnesses that said, no, we didn't hear them introduce themselves. But that neighbor at first said he didn't hear anything, but they called him back and essentially coerced him to change his story. So all these things are just very straightforward. It's very rare you hear from grand jurors. It's supposed to be a secretive process. So with that, and essentially the attorney general was lying, what has the family, your lawyers, people tied to this, what have you been trying to do since then? Because it seems to me there's evidence that there should be either a new grand jury or a new process because the grand jury wasn't provided all the evidence and they weren't even given the option to charge these officers criminally.
Everything you said is correct. So currently, Sam Aguiar, Lenita Baker, they hire private investigators to go in and just oversee a lot of things that oversee this case. And mind you, the DOJ is here in town doing their own investigation. And we're also waiting on the the feds to wrap up their investigation as well. But
the FBI?
The FBI. And currently, Tom Wine, he still is able to prosecute these officers. The reason why Daniel Cameron came about is because Kenneth Walker had murder charges against him, and so it was kind of like the conflict of interest, right? And so now that those charges have been dropped, Tom Wine can very much so bring these officers forward and hold them accountable.
Tom Wine is the county prosecutor?
The county prosecutor. So, we're just putting pressure on him as well to, come forward, do the right thing, and prosecute these officers. And then hopes to, if we can't get him to do his job, we're going to take it, to a federal level. We want to go to Washington and see if they can help us out, there as well. So it's just a journey. It's mind-blowing that we have to go through all these steps and processes when the evidence is there that clearly this was a cover-up, it's corrupt, and they assassinated Breonna Taylor in her own home.
And I also want to ask you, I'm learning more about this as I'm here. There's been some local media attention, definitely not national attention. It seems that the whole reason they were even targeting Breonna was the city government, some real estate folks, some nonprofits had their eyes on a certain block, Russell Avenue, on the west side of Louisville, West Side, very poor. On that block, a very majority black community. On that block, there was abandoned homes, this and that. And essentially, there was a $1 billion investment program. They love to say revitalize, you know, gentrification, what I call economic terrorism. Long story short, there was one house on the block that they couldn't get, and that was Jamarcus Glover, who they alleged was a drug dealer, and they tried to make a connection between Breonna and him. And despite evidence that there was no drug paraphernalia being housed at Breonna's apartment for him, the U.S. Postal Office came out saying we didn't find any evidence that mail there was drugs or anything like that. So it seems like this was a gentrification scheme, and they were trying to get Jamarcus Glover's house, and they brought your niece into it as kind of that connective tissue. But the mayor's office, there's also emails showing the mayor's office was speaking with the police department about this one specific block and this one alleged drug dealer. That is a scandal, but what has been done about that?
And mind you, this drug dealer is like nonviolent. He's a nonviolent, you know, just a neighborhood kid, you know what I mean, that's been in trouble. And then to add insult to injury, the city bought that house for $1 on Breonna's birthday in 2020, to add insult to injury to that. So, and then currently Joshua Jane was fired for lying on a search warrant.
Police officer. The
police officer, Joshua Jane. He was currently fired, which now he is, what do you call it? He has his, I can't think of the word.
He's spoken out against basically blowing the whistle.
Basically a review, like to get his job back. So he's currently had one session, and I think his next hearing is on the 24th. So I think it's this coming Friday. And just the audacity for him to even go in front of a board to ask for his job back is just crazy. Especially after you lied on a warrant that cost my niece her life. You know what I mean? So.
What was his lie on the warrant?
He lied and said that she was receiving packages to her apartment, that that there was packages coming to that address. So, and that after the post office, the chief of the post office stated that was a lie, he continued his lie, mind you. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
There's another element here. So I don't want to get too in the weeds, but essentially the Louisville Police Department set up this new division called the Place-Based Initiatives. I don't really know what that means, but it was basically an initiative to target specific types of crime, blah, blah, blah. They said they were using Nevada and somewhere else as a model. But shocker, the first area they were targeting was this Russell Avenue, where the city and a nonprofit were trying to redevelop, meaning we got to seize all the properties, demolish them, do whatever to them, and then do whatever they wanted to do, which was probably build condos or apartments or something, gentrify. So the first target of place-based initiatives was Russell Avenue. And it also came out that, this place-based initiatives unit created a map of potential drug sale targets. And it was said that that's the first time that they were targeting Russell Avenue, but evidence came out that they were targeting Russell Avenue before that map. So it seems to me, and this individual you were just talking about, the police officer, he said the reason place-based initiatives was even doing this was the mayor's office wanted them. So basically, you have the mayor's office, who, by the way, takes a lot of money from real estate developers. For some reason, there was this new police unit set up to target this one block, and you even have the police officer saying we were doing it at the direction of the mayor's office.
And let's be clear, they raided this same house 3 days prior. So they knew what they it was like a cat and mouse game going on with these neighborhood kids and the police. So for them to say like they set up this, they knew exactly what they was doing. They know exactly who was where. You know, it was cameras everywhere. It's evidence, clearly, that they was taking these. Jamarcus Glover had been to jail previously. They raided his house previously, so it just don't make any sense. And then just to find out that the mayor's involved in this, and for him to act like he was just clueless and oblivious to what was going on is mind blowing. Like it's the whole system is just corrupt, and it just all needs to be dismantled.
And what I find I'm sure you find it infuriating is, let's say for argument's sake, they genuinely wanted to speak with your niece. She didn't have a criminal record. Why couldn't they have brought her in during the day? You know, why did you have to go in like that?
She would open the door, knowing Breonna, she'd be like, oh my God, she would have called one of us, like, the police at my house, what should I do? Open the door, that's what you do. Let's see what they want. Yeah, so definitely they could have found other ways besides coming in a single black woman's house in the middle of the night. They could have found other ways to go about asking her questions or getting access to her apartment. So
I want to ask you also, because you're talking about the county prosecutor. There's nothing stopping him from recharging. You have the FBI is involved, the Department of Justice. Well, call me cynical. Department of Justice under President Obama didn't charge the officer who strangled to death Eric Garner on a street corner. I've seen a lot of FBI investigations that kind of fall out of the news. And so have you gotten any communication from the federal government on the status of these investigations? Do they have access to evidence that was hidden to the grand jury? What's your knowledge of the federal investigation?
Well, I can tell you just by Sam Aguiar keeping us updated that he has a bunch of new evidence that he was able to get a hold of that was withheld when this all first came about. And he's constantly sending letters and emails and in contact with getting updates on what's going on with the case. So, I mean, I really can't really speak on much of that, but I just know, like, we continue to work, you know what I mean? Like, we're not giving up. And just even myself and my sisters, like, we even started our own organization here.
Come right there. You want?
She's like, I don't want to.
Yeah.
I mean, just to make sure that Breonna's name is continued in this fight, that we've also joined an organization we put together called Justice for Louisville, where it's a bunch of protesters and activists who's coming together, and we started our own kind of like, you know, board and thing to just make actions and continue to see what we can do for our, not only Breonna Taylor, but for the community. Because not only is we have to deal with these corrupt police systems and police men, we have to, you know, it's a lot of murders going on here. You know, like, our kids are constantly getting killed in these streets. So it's definitely.
I think, like, too.
And can you introduce yourself?
My name is Tahasha Holloway. I'm one of Breonna Taylor's aunts. Tamika and Bianca's sister. Okay, I was just thinking, like, when you were just saying about the FBI possibly bringing charges and stuff like that, it made me think about Tamir Rice, right? Like, he was killed, like, how many years ago? Like, about 6 years ago or so.
2014.
2014. And I feel like it's like we're going to wait them out type game, right? And then we're going to say no charges or something like that. But, like, I feel like there's a different element that's happening now with all the tragedies and things that's happening, where people are like, we're not accepting no more, nothing is going to be done. Like, what, like you're going to have to do something, right? We can't keep voting people in, whether Democrat or Republican, that is not going to actually serve the people. Like, you give us these things with no justice. Yeah, we're going to We're going to honor her, but we're not going to give you justice. We're going to put this scholarship in her name, but we're not going to give you justice. We're going to do a whole museum, but no outcome has come to her case. But we're going to still put her in the museum without having a conclusion to what her life is going to be about. But we're not going to give you justice. So, and we should be happy and grateful for that. But we want justice. You can give no amount of money you can give us or nothing, like you can give us all the museums, you can give us all the streets, you can give us all of that, but we want justice, period.
What's incredible to me with George Floyd, for example, I mean, the police lied right out of the gate. Whatever their statement was there was a medical situation. Obviously, once the video came out, it was clear the medical situation was brought on by the police. Derek Chauvin's knee on his neck. But here you have multiple lies. They lied on the police report. Yeah, they lied on the police report. You got 12 witnesses saying that they didn't introduce themselves as police. I mean, we already went through Attorney General Daniel Cameron's. The only difference is there was no video. But the response to the Minnesota Police Department's lies was swift. They had the Attorney General of the state come in, Keith Ellison. It doesn't seem like, based on obvious lies and an obvious cover-up, it's the same response. I mean, that should have been the response in Minneapolis, but it's not here.
Like here in Louisville, there's a cockiness with the police, like where the people are complacent here. Like things like this have been happening forever, right? Like there is people still right now today for years have been waiting on a plethora of video and all kind of stuff where they just feel like they don't have to do anything. We don't have to give you anything. Like, mind you, this happened on March 13th. Like, it didn't blow up until May something. They still hadn't filled out a police report. They still hadn't put out anything because they don't feel like they have to. This man literally lied to a judge. Where's the judge at? The judge has not demanded like nothing to happen to this man. None of this. Like he literally took a whole affidavit, signed out to her, and she said yes, and it gave him 5 no-knock warrants under this lie, and she still haven't said anything nobody to be charged or nothing for that lie that caused somebody's life or anything like that. Like that's crazy. Like, and I feel like even the governor, Andy Beshear, sits there quiet and don't say anything about none of this, nothing. Like, please don't bring me in this. Like, he don't have anything to say at all. This whole city is like a mess, a whole mess. I feel like the police, they just sit here cocky. Oh, we just gonna wait this out. Like, it's over. So now we can just go back to being business. Oh, we gave them $12 million. They should just shut up and just like don't say anything else. Like they've been doing this stuff to these people. These people just don't say anything. They just let it happen and just be like, why should we fight? I think,
to be honest with you,
yeah.
I think the city, it's been happening so much, they scared. They don't know how to go about even pursuing justice. You know what I mean? Like, whereas they thought COVID was going to sweep Breonna under the rug. That's what they thought was going to happen. Like, oh yeah, shut the city down. You know, we got this deadly virus out here.
Blame Kenny. We're going to railroad Kenny, and that's going to be that. But you can feel like through the whole COVID, you can feel the tension. You can feel the buildup, and I could feel it like in the air. Like I can tell that it was gonna be something, and you can just like the atmosphere was. The shift in the atmosphere was totally different. And then all of these things just started happening through COVID. Like we're still like being victimized through COVID. This is crazy. Like everybody's supposed to be in the house. How are we still being murdered? How is that happening? How is these videos still coming out of the police like Ahmaud Arbery? And then you had Ahmaud Arbery, and then you had I think somebody else before, Jacob Blake. And then you had Breonna, and then you had Floyd. All of these things just happened like boom, 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 boom in COVID.
Dante Wright, Andrew Brown.
Yeah, all of these things. Like how? This is COVID. We're supposed to be under lockdown. Like how is this happening? Like why is this happening? How do you go to a person's house like and for no reason at all? Like how do you like just make up a complete lie? And Joshua Jane He never even talked to the post office. Come to find out, like through his own like testimony to trying to get his job back, he never even talked to the post office.
That's the police. That's the police officer trying to get his job.
Yeah, trying to get his job back. He never had. And he's the detective on the case. He the one who brought the stuff to the judge. He had no contact with nobody. He never talked to nobody. So he took this information from another police officer who's suing Kenny, who supposed to had talked to Madeline, who's supposed to have talked to not only the post office a few times, but also Shively Police Department, who was supposed to have investigated Breonna and said she's not getting packages. So not only was she supposed to have been investigated by the post office, she was investigated by another police department here. And all of them said she's not getting drugs.
Why that's so important, if the audience doesn't know, basically the thesis or the case to get the no-knock warrant approved was Jamarcus Glover, the alleged drug dealer, was getting packages, presumably of drug, to Breonna's apartment, but basically the officer in charge never actually spoke with the postal office, but a postal office worker, they investigated it and said, no, that wasn't the case, and you're saying another police department did.
Police department, if you go, like, they say there's no video, but
yeah. They followed him to her apartment, and he did get a package, but it was like some shoes or something to come find out. But the thing about it is, so if y'all followed him and y'all thought it was drugs, y'all followed this man from one end of town to the next, didn't pull him over, didn't check the package, didn't do anything of that matter, and then come to find out the package that they tracked was just some merchandise. You know what I mean? So
she ordered everything. You know what I'm saying? If you knew her, you know she ordered everything. Yes. So, like, it's crazy that they didn't feel the need to actually investigate. They just said, "Oh, she's selling drugs," or "She's really a law-abiding citizen with no record, with a whole EMT." All of these good things that's going for her, and you never really actually did any police work. Like, you never actually, I don't think they actually ever followed her any place. They actually didn't even know what car she really drove. They actually didn't even know who was in her home that night, because had you been doing real police work, you would have knew it was just Breonna and another guy in that apartment. And her and Jamarcus used to go together. So if he did pick up a package, how did you not know that it could have been
when they was together,
a gift or something or whatever? They still was friends, but
I was talking to your sister before you came. Seems to me they intentionally didn't look into these things, because all of this was just a scam to connect Breonna to Jamarcus so that they could seize that one house.
I feel like, to be honest with you, because they couldn't get Jamarcus, I think she was an add-on to something. I feel like they didn't have anything else, so they added her into that, where she didn't, they knew she didn't have nothing to do with nothing. But I feel like she was an add-on, and they lied, and that lie bust up, and they blew up humongously in their faces. And I feel like somebody really needs to pay. Every single person needs to be held, from the judge, from the mayor, all of these cops need to be held accountable. Every last one of them. And then the killer part is this man, Joshua James did an interview, I think, with the Courier Journal, saying, "My life is messed up over a mistake. Over a little mistake. A little mistake was your basis of your warrant. That was a lie, a big lie, a big huge lie. A big lie that you call a little mistake cost Breonna's her life. So I don't understand this sense of, like, it's okay that you murdered and killed a black woman in her home, minding her business, doing what she was supposed to do, and you want to label it as a mistake. That's not a mistake. Everything you did was intentional. Every single thing they did was intentional. You intentionally lied. You intentionally filled out that affidavit. You intentionally took that to that judge. You intentionally chose that judge. You intentionally presented that to that judge. You intentionally got every single one of those warrants. You intentionally went to her house illegally to serve that illegal warrant. You intentionally murdered her. Period. There's nothing about a mistake. Everything you did was intentional. Every single step y'all took was intentional.
You know, I want to zero in on one thing. I won't get into the Republicans. We know they're not allies and they're extremists. But I don't know. I hear a lot of talk, woke language, symbolism from the Democrats.
They do. And we're going to give you this, we're going to give you that, but they're not.
I guess what I was driving at is, if the Democrats are in power here, if the Democrats are in power federally, but essentially this corruption, cover-ups, lies can go on, then who is your allies if you're a black woman or a black man?
I don't feel like we don't have any. We only have ourselves. We only have like ourselves, like, and like any white allies that's really truly down for us, but like we have to be for ourselves. At some point we have to think of only us and get us out of this because I feel like even like everything is like symbolism. Like we're gonna honor her. How are you honoring a person that you ain't giving justice to? Like you can't honor a person if you don't have a conclusion to. You can't put her in a museum and you have no conclusion to her life or to what happened after that. How do you put her in a museum and you didn't even give her justice to even write the end of her story is she got justice for her murder? And you knew that
no-knock warrant passed. We barely got the no-knock warrant passed.
But Kentucky hasn't passed anything.
No, it's passed in Kentucky. It's been passed in Louisville. It was passed citywide, but now it's not even the no. They didn't even pass it under Breonna's law, so it's just the no-knock law. But they finally passed that statewide here in Kentucky.
And, you know, there's something else. I think a lot of people don't realize this. I use Flint as an example. A lot of times, whether it's a water crisis, a straight-up assassination, all these places are trying to gentrify. It's bad for business if there's a water crisis. It's bad for business if there's massive protests going on and on indefinitely. So the protesters that were here, not even a year ago, I was here less than a year ago, the protests in the street, the organizing, this and that, that's not good if city government's goal is to basically make over a whole section of town to be gentrified and, bring in white people. So it seems to me part of all this, making you come here, set up, then break it down at the end of the night, sending stuff to the dumps, screwing with protesters. I've spoken with people that were leading protesters who have been retaliated against by police, is to basically just move on and get back to the business of gentrification.
Yeah, I mean, if you go 2 blocks over, they just redid the whole neighborhood over here. They just tore those apartment buildings like less than a year. Like how long they tore these apartments, these low-income apartments. Now they got this nice high-rise with these condos, and so who's going to afford to live there? You pushed all those people out, and then you go 2 blocks over. They got this new sportsplex. You got this sportsplex in this community where none of the neighborhood kids can afford to go to it. You got a brand new YMCA in the neighborhood where none of the neighborhood kids can afford to go utilize the YMCA. It's, you know what I mean? It's just like,
because I feel like they still asking for community centers with a whole YMCA right there.
Yeah.
Like
we can't afford to use any of them. Yeah, so it's just like they want to push us out and get their top dollars in here, the one percenters in here.
And getting back to Breonna's murder, you were saying before we went live that they said there was no body cameras, but you're learning there were body cameras. Can you kind of talk about that?
Yeah, well, when this first happened, there was no body cameras at all on the scene, and then the ones that was, the footage was blurry. But now, Sam got evidence. It's like over 30 body cameras, 30 footage of just from different officers of footage from what happened that night. So it's and we knew it was there. Like, I'm like, come on now, like somebody had on a body camera, somebody did something. Come to find out, Mattingly left the crime scene that night. He disappeared for 2-3 hours. You know what I mean? Like, come on, then the police was investigating themselves that night. Didn't even half-ass fill out a police report that night. Come to find out, Hankerson, who got shot, you know, they. Oh well.
Hankerson, not Hankerson. What was the
Was
one that
it?
got fired?
Well, I don't know. Well, whoever got shot,
Mattingly got shot.
Mattingly got shot. Well, come to find out that you know that life-threatening bullet that's supposed to went through his artery, it was a graze. It was a Band-Aid.
Necessary sure that Kenny even shot him. They kind of feel like it's not evident that who shot him. They don't know if it was friendly fire or Kenny.
But I want to get back to this. So the Louisville Police Department said there was no body cameras, but your lawyer is finding that they might have had as many as 30 body cameras there and that were on?
That were on, and then
Those body cameras are after the fact, though, after everything had taken place. Like the original, when they came there, they are from that.
they're from that night. They're from
But like the
when they raided the
original-
house, and they're from at Breonna's place.
I don't think it's when they raided the house, though. I think
I
it's
mean,
just after.
whether it's during or after, it's still.
After they're still there.
Right,
You know what I'm
exactly.
saying? Like, because we was told that there was nothing.
None.
And
It was.
the evidence that he got, you know, is blurred out. Some has been deleted. Some has been, you know what I'm saying, like tampered with. You know what I'm per se. Some of the voices, you know, some you can't see some, but you can sure hear the conversations that went on. So
We just went from corrupt to just mind-blowingly illegal. You're not allowed to delete body cam footage or edit it or anything like that.
Right? Because it's evidence, right?
Everything about the whole thing is just pure, just trash. It's all just lies and cover-ups from the jump, like from the gate, from the everything. They didn't. Like everybody just need to be.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
It's disgusting, and we outraged. Like I get angry just like thinking about it and talking about it. Just that fire, that angry is just it's mind blowing that my niece lost her life for some machine. Yeah, so this shit could have been avoided.
Them to interview her or to, you know, do you know Jamarcus Glover type situation, if that was it.
I think what's really insult to injury, you briefly mentioned it. Well, the mayor's office fiercely denied that this had anything to do with trying to seize Jamarcus Glover's house. But on Breonna Taylor's birthday, the city buys the house for $1. I think they flipped it or something to somebody. So it does seem that the city had an interest in that house. So there's multiple levels here between just straight up cover up, but also the motivations behind tying a black nurse to Jamarcus Glover. Can you kind of talk about, did you know that that house was going to be sold to the city? How did you find out about it?
I found out on the news. We found out. I think Sam sent us a document before it hit the news.
And it's not like, let's be clear, Breonna don't have no connection to that house nor to that neighborhood. When we moved here, we strictly live out in the Shively area. So we wouldn't know necessarily all the things that they are doing to that neighborhood unless it's on the news or we're involved in the community, things that's happening. But like, there is no connection to that house with us or with Breonna, so to speak. They connected her just from being a friend of a person that was connected to that house. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, she doesn't live there. She never lived there. None of that type of stuff. So we didn't know that until Sam said this is what's happening over in that, and the mayor is also involved. This whole goes way up.
And I want to also just add in here, while this cover-up is going on, you got the city landlords are illegally evicting black people here during the pandemic. I've interviewed a few people. There was a federal moratorium that everybody thinks protected renters, but I've spoken already with several that were evicted or their landlords are trying to evict them. During the pandemic, even though they were supposed to be protected under the federal moratorium. I just spoke with a woman who's been houseless for 3 months. Black Lives Matter, I guess, helped her with an Airbnb or something. So could you kind of talk about the city, on top of this injustice, is essentially allowing landlords to illegally push mostly black people off into the streets?
It's really sad, especially like when there's a relief program set up for these landlords and they have resources that they put them out on the streets during this pandemic. Not only are they losing their homes, but they're losing their jobs and whatever valuables that they do have, and these people got kids, and it's just simply not enough resources to go around. And it's just really heartbreaking and sad that landlords would do this too, especially like being in the Russell neighborhood, and they know what we're going through already. Like, we already fight against the system, and now we gotta fight to keep the little bit of valuables we do have. Especially like some of these people have been loyal, dedicated tenants that's been living there for years. And I've even heard that they have got money in this relief and still pursuing eviction, putting these people out. So it's definitely heartbreaking, and it's definitely something that needs to be the city needs to be aware of, and something needs to happen. Especially with this budget, this fund, the city's going to get this big budget coming up. That's, what is it, 60% of it goes to the police, and none of it's going back into our neighborhoods. So this people should be outraged. People should be out here, down here fighting, for their properties, their valuables, everything, all of it. So
it seems like the city does know, because I just spoke with a black I just spoke with a black organizer who was emailing and calling, speaking with somebody from the city about, my lawyer tells me they can't evict me, and the city basically just gave her the runaround, and she was evicted in March.
And not only is they getting evicted, but their credit's getting ruined with these high light, water, and gas bills that they can't afford to pay. Their cars is getting repossessed. And it's bad enough. The kids, our poor kids, haven't had an education in over a year. Let's be clear. They had NTI, but that, if you're not homeschooling your kid, they pretty much.
But most parents can't even afford to stay at home to homeschool their kids. So the kids falling behind, and then not only is she saying you ruin your credit, you got to, not only you losing your stuff, then you got an eviction on your credit. So now it's going to be hard for you to find a place and all of that type of stuff. So everything ties into just a target, like the poor black and brown people. Even we're gonna say Portland too, because they poor over there too. Like, Portland is like a poor white area and stuff. They going through it too. Like it definitely should be
the ribbon on this new condo down the street.
Tale of two cities.
And there's funds for it, so there's no reason for anybody to be evicted when there's funds that the government did allocate for this specific reason. So. Yeah, that's crazy.
Can I ask you guys, obviously it's tough being the family, but it seems to me, and I've seen this in other cities too, a protest movement starts out beautiful, organized or somewhat organized, but then whether it's egos, infiltration, the government dividing and conquering, it fizzles out a little bit. I was talking to Councilman Chikori Arthur earlier, who was saying, when you have 1,000 different demands and division and things like that, it's hard to get things done. Can you kind of talk about the protest movement? Because at one point it was a beautiful thing, but it seems to, frankly, obviously it's not as strong right now.
I'm going to let her answer that.
Well, I just feel like I said, let me think. It's beyond me, right? I just feel like, there is people who still want this movement, still want to be involved, where I feel like people are trying to scramble to still fight, but don't know how.
It's exhausting. It's exhausting because a lot of the protesters that's been out here has been arrested multiple times.
Yeah.
And
They still have charges
they
that they still face, so they're worried about those charges, and they're giving them trumped up charges, right? Like, they're giving them like somebody got a hitchhiking charge, and like they're giving them charges that just don't even fit what's happening at all, like to try and make this, like they're being charged, a couple of them is being charged with federal crime, which they didn't do. So they're all scared about those charges, that they still haven't been able to get those off of them. Here in Kentucky, they're like really trumping these charges and stuff like that. And I feel like people still want to fight. It's just they don't know how. After the winter, I feel like it's been disparate. And then you got everybody, I don't know, go ahead.
You got those people who was just not out here for the right reasons to begin with, like, just to profit off pain, you know what I mean? Like those people who was down here, just trying to get a payday, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's go down here. It's hundreds of people down here. I can sell shirts. I can sell this. I can sell that. I can start a Cash App. I can get sympathy for this and sympathy for that. And so...
Trying to raise their profile, too.
Right. And so once the people's gone, they don't have no reason to come down here and fight. So, and it's like they was down here for the wrong reasons to begin with. And so now we just gotta kind of filter out, who's here for the fight and who's not. You know what I mean? So...
And it's still in the works. It's just trying to figure out how do you continue to push this, because we're still it's still fight. We're organized, but it's more of a we're still coming type situation. I feel like once this memorial was removed too, played a role also in this.
Where we are now.
Once the memorial was removed, I feel like it played a role in the people dispersing away from what's happening here in Kentucky. And I also feel like it's also kind of Kentucky too. Don't they want to push, but they don't want to push. They kind of I don't know if they're scared to push or they just don't know how to push, or they don't want to go too far, so to speak. People are saying, oh, they're rioting and looting. All these buildings are still up compared to you talk about Minneapolis, or you talk about Seattle, Washington, or you talk about what was that? I can't think of it. Utah. Wasn't it Utah?
New York got looted too.
Utah, I feel like they just is scared to really push the way it really needs to be pushed here.
I also think you said, listen, I'm a journalist. I'm not oppressed, but I'm fucking tired. I've been doing this for 6 years all over the country. When all you see is misery, injustice, corruption on top of corruption on top of corruption. You don't...
I think it's also right now is about revamping and regrouping and finding a different approach to attack, because we all out here in these streets, but nothing's still changing, right? We give you a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So how do we still... Because I feel like it's time for a upgrade way of attack, right? Versus being out here, we're on social media now, so there's a better way to attack, and it's about finding those ways to attack and still be efficient and effective and still get your point and what you want out of the outcomes of whatever you're trying to do. And that's what we're working on right now.
2 more, because I know I've kept you a long time. I think it's important to talk about the media, because essentially, whether it's the national media, the local media, it's the same old record spinning. A black man, a black woman is assassinated. There's protests. The media covers the protests. Maybe they investigate slightly. When they cover the protests, it's usually from a sympathetic point of view to the police. particularly CNN, MSNBC, when even the Louisville Courier Journal, when they do some investigative stuff, they bend over backwards to both sides, and to me, it gets watered down. What role does the media play? Because I don't live here, but I don't. I mean, this is gold if you're a journalist who wants to expose corruption, but I don't really see the media nationally or locally staying on this significantly.
Right, exactly, right. So, like, in the beginning, right, when this first happened, they said, oh, a murder happened, police-involved shooting happened. What is her address? She was a suspect. Her name wasn't even out there, and that was that, right? No more. Nobody came to the family. Nobody. Then we got a press conference, right, where a local activist here named Christopher Two Eggs. Like a couple days later, it was about 2 days later. It's about 2 days later, we did a press conference, right? So Bianca, all the family is around. Bianca and the family is speaking and stuff like that. But they literally like cherry picked like little snippets like of things being said, right? They chopped it up so much where you didn't even none of the full conversation was ever spoken about like what happened and trying to find out what happened and stuff like that, right? So then you fast forward to when everything blows up and everybody want to be down here now. Now we have the media here want to interview us and stuff like that. When before y'all was on the police side, like they were swaying so much, like if you go back and read like March 16th and read the papers from Breonna Taylor case, you can see like they were like towing the line. They didn't want to go too far. They didn't want to, they didn't want, but now you have some of them who were pretty much on Breonna Taylor's side, then you have some of them that wasn't. Then you had the one news lady who caught herself digging into, because Breonna doesn't have a record, so of course they want to figure out a way to destroy this woman, right? Because that's what the media does. They destroy you from your pictures, they destroy you from, if you have a record, they need to figure out a way to destroy her. First, by destroying her, by not releasing her name and putting her in a lineup of some suspects with criminal records. Her and Kenny, neither one of them have records, but they put them in a lineup with criminals as if they were part of those criminals, right? But neither one of them have records. So they try to destroy her like that. That didn't work. So then this news lady go and try and pull her work record as an EMT. Oh, we don't know why she's no longer working as an EMT, so she left it to the imagination that she possibly could have been fired, right? So now everybody running, oh, she was stealing drugs, she was doing this, she was doing that.
Stealing meds off the ambulance.
Access to the drugs on there, but that's neither here nor there. But that's what happened. Then she ended up getting in trouble for writing that article and stuff, because now you know all the news people are on her. But now it seems like when it's something like an anniversary, now they all want to, oh, can we get an interview? Can we do this? Can we do that? Now that everything's calm, you don't have that anymore. Until the next
big step, yeah. But shout out to the 502 live streamers too, because they the ones who really been out here and getting the good footage and what's really out here happening. You know what I mean? So if you follow those 502 live streamers, you can go back and see. I mean, it was to the point where the police start even going live. Like they out here with their cameras in our face, like, yeah, provoking us. And I'm like, are you serious right now? Yeah. Like, come on, like this cannot be, yeah.
But last question, because I think it all gets forgotten. We talked about it last time, but to remind people, just, what type of person was Breonna? As a niece, daughter, what was she like?
Man, I mean, if you can sum, like, we did a good job, was a person, it was Breonna. She was, she was caring. She'd give the shirt off her back for anybody. She was goofy. She was a motivator. She was a counselor. She was a sister mom. You know what I mean? Like, she was a sister niece. You know what I'm saying? Like, she built relationships with people that was genuine. I think you probably can't find one person that can talk bad about her. that she was close to. She was very family oriented. She light up the room when she come. And she was one of those persons when she walked through you, it's like, I gotta know who that is. Oh, who was that? You know what I mean? Like her smile, her laugh. She's just all around good girl. Like she was really out here thriving, trying to do the right thing, just want to live her best life and be cute. And that's all. So we're gonna try to make sure, her legacy lives on, and just do what we can to get some type of accountability, because we'll never get justice in our eyes. The only way we're going to get justice if they can bring her back. You know what I mean? So now we just want to focus on accountability. Like somebody needs to be held accountable. Somebody.
Anything to add?
Just her presence is truly missed. Like when you look at like her friends and everybody, you can see it's like it's lost. Like it's not just, that you can't find stuff, because we still go to work and stuff like that, but you just know that present is not here anymore. Her present is like you search for that. Like it was a good presence. I don't want to cry, but I feel like I'm about to. It was a really good person.
I'm about to wrap. Okay.
These bombs come out. Like, just wait till the future comes.
Vice did a good job. Yeah. They got some good stuff on. The mayor, all of them. Like, it's bad.
We'll stay on this story. I'm glad I was able to come back because, you shouldn't have to really keep a black person's name in the news that was assassinated, because it should have been out of the news by now, because there should have been accountability. There should have been charges.
Don't you think like George Floyd give you a little hope though? Like, I want to have some hope, like that. Like if we keep pushing, because we are pushing. I think people think just because you don't physically see us out here that things aren't happening. It's stuff happening, but I feel like I do feel like things are changing. There is a shift in this atmosphere, and just hope that it's in the right direction and stuff. And I think as black people start to really organize and understand that, like, really these Democrats really ain't doing nothing for us for real, but putting up smoke and mirrors and symbolisms and things like that, and dangling shiny things in front of us and stuff. And the more we realize that, the more we will be like, yeah. And our demands will be to, like, literally hold their feet to the fire. Like, literally, you're doing nothing. And we can't support you if you're not going to bring anything. Like, even with now President Biden and Camilla, what are you doing? Like, because if you can surely sign an Asian hate bill, you surely can sign a black crimes bill. You surely can hold these police officers accountable. You surely can bring federal charges against these police officers who violate every constitutional right they possibly can of a black person's. Because we do belong to this country as well, too.
Biden made a lot of promises to black people.
Didn't he do that? He did that. Because we were out there, wasn't we not? Under Breonna Taylor's name? Did we not talk to Camilla Harris? Was she not calling us?
Vice President Harris.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did. She called us. We was at home, and she just, was sending her condolences and told her, like, hang on. You know what I'm saying? Like, change is coming. Justice is coming. Yeah. They both made a lot of promises.
I feel like Louisville need a lesson. Like, because there's a cockiness here with these police officers. There's a we can do what we want type out here. Like, it's big.
Even in Joshua James' hearing, like, you see how nasty he was. Like, even the guy was like, "What's up with your attitude? Like, what's wrong with you?" Yeah. Like, I was like appalled.
Like he really think he deserved his job back. Like he really, like, this is beyond me. Like, you literally took a lie to the judge and you don't see anything wrong in that. You really didn't do your job. You didn't investigate. You pushing that off on somebody else. Like, your job was to investigate, was it not? Like, and I feel like Judge Mary Shaw should be calling them out. Like, she should be demanding charges on all of them. And
They gave her inaccurate information.
His cases should be investigated. Every last one of them should be pulled and investigated. that he was involved in.
Thank-
And adding me to. I'm sorry.
Another thing.
Well, I'll stay on it because I think it's outrageous. I think if you're a true journalist, like, this is a gold mine of corruption. So thank you guys for taking the time.
Thank you for backing, double backing on us. You know what I mean? So we just appreciate that. You know that people still like have our best interests at heart and like keep this.
I feel like you could feel her presence that she was a genuine good person, and she definitely didn't deserve none of that. None of it.
Well, this won't be the last that Louisville hears from me.
Well, hopefully when you come back, we'll have some type of memorial for her in honor of her besides a cardboard.
Thank you guys for watching. Our reporting trip will continue tomorrow. I don't know where. We're making it up as we go along. Might still be in Louisville. Might go to Moorhead, which is a little east, or I don't know where it is. But there's more evictions that have gone on there, which is outrageous. And we might go to West Virginia too. So it's all up in the air. Support this reporting if you can. statuscoup.com/join as a member. statuscoup.com/join. Ain't cheap to report on the ground. We've been in Pennsylvania, Ohio, and now Kentucky. And we're trying to go to West Virginia next. So statuscoup.com/join. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.